Yeah, go ahead. Okay. Dear Heavenly Father, we ask that you help guide the hands and hearts of the Oklahoma County Commissioners and all the people in this room for a civil and informational time. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Brady.
Here.
Drummond. Here. Gothier.
Here.
Small.
Here.
Thompson.
Here. I accept the motion to approve minutes from August 18th. Seconded. Any discussion? Roll call. We're all in favor, I guess, for this.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to public comment, limited to 3 minutes per person. Please state your name and your residence in the township.
Patty Thomas, 278 Harbor View, Harrisville Township. I'll be reading from a prepared statement today because I'm afraid that if I spoke extemporaneously, I might tell you what I really feel about the display on the property of an uncivil and unpatriotic resident in our community. With the coming Labor Day weekend of harmony performances and arts and crafts booths lining the highway, there will be the usual large crowd of non-residents coming to enjoy our lovely community. I am appalled, disgusted, and disappointed that there is a resident living on M72 who will be flying a large flag on his private flagpole that broadcasts his patriotic and hateful to everyone passing by. On a breezy day, the message "Fuck Biden" can't be missed. At a time when most of the community is doing their best to celebrate the efforts of Americans and show our town to be a welcoming destination for family fun, that flag is a rotten sign that some people who live here have no sense of decency. It is certainly sending a message that I believe is unfit and unacceptable to most residents. That property on 72 is just steps away from our public library, where children come to have their lives enriched by words in books and stories. I wonder how many parents have had to have the difficult conversation with their children about what that word on that flag means. I am a senior woman who has lived through many decades of cultural unrest and disagreement about what is acceptable in polite society. But never did I expect to be living in a community that does not challenge such a vile and un-American public display. Our freedoms in America are protected as long as one's free choice does not harm others around it. That flag hurts me. It harms our community and it harms our image of pride in America. If our government leaders feel it is inappropriate, I hope you will speak up and say so and not let this outrage go unchallenged. To put your hands over your eyes and pretend the flag isn't flying will only encourage similar acts of unpatriotic and sick behavior.
All right, thank you very much. Anyone else for public comment?
Hi, this is Carrie Mullins. Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
This is Carrie Mullins. I live in Mankato Township. I'm the chair for the Alcona County Republicans. I'm here today in support of the resolutions that are going to be presented by Jeffrey and Jessica Dobbs, as well as the Tureks. The Alcona County Republicans also is in support of a full forensic audit. So sorry. Got to keep it away from the dogs. An update on the Republican Party. Our next meeting is going to be September 27th We will also be in the parade on the 5th, the Labor Day parade. And I actually echo Patty Thompson's words in regards to that flag and the use of that word in public. I'm not fond of it either. At the same time, there is free speech, and I don't know is that it violates any laws, but perhaps you guys can look into that. Again, I personally support it, and I know that the Alcona County Republicans also support the resolutions that you will be seeing presented here today. And that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Thank you, guys.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Anybody else for public comment?
Judy
Gary
Frank.
Medlin.
Go ahead, Gary. Sorry, Judy, if you don't mind. Go ahead, Gary.
Yep. Gary Medlin, Alcona Township over by Hubbard Lake. I'm talking today in opposition to the forensic audit of the election. I have a couple of points, I've got 11 different points that I'd like to make on it. First of all, that this resolution comes about even though there's no evidence of any widespread voter fraud in the county. By doing this, it's going to question the integrity of both the township and city clerks of the county, most of whom are Republicans, who ran the elections this past in 2020. The state Republican Senate Commission found no evidence of widespread voter fraud in Michigan. The cost of this forensic audit is going to go to the taxpayers of the county. And if the machines happen to be turned over to this third group, those voting machines will then become contaminated, and new voting machines will have to be purchased by the county or by the townships and cities to be able to hold elections in the future. I'm sorry, I'm stumbling here a little bit, but the continuation of this particular idea that there has been voter fraud and that there has been tampering with the elections only undermines our democracy. It continues to do so even in the face of the fact that there has been no evidence whatsoever that there is widespread fraud both in our county or in the state or in the nation. And if this is true, if voter fraud is true, then all of the elected officials who were elected in 2020, their votes also should be invalidated. And that means that basically that the commissioners, you weren't elected to office either. We need to stop doing this stuff. We need to stop questioning where there are no problems. We have to stop this because it is just dividing us more and more and causing people to not believe in our democratic processes any longer. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate the time to be able to speak.
Thank you, Gary. Judy.
Okay. Judy French, Harrisville Township. I am here in support of the resolutions being brought forward. Basically, a couple of them are, regarding vaccines, vaccine passports. I've stated before to you that it's none of your business or anyone else's business what I have or have not been vaccinated for. That's between me and my doctor, as with any vaccine. So it's not just about this one. As far as the election auditing, in my personal opinion, just prove whether it was accurate or not. There's a lot of question about the machines, and that's where I stand is if there's nothing wrong, let's prove that. Because there's going to be question if we don't prove it one way or another.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else?
So I'm Jerry Klingenberg, and I live at 5323 Walker Road, and I fully support the full forensic audit. the resolution that the church brought. And I think that it's a good idea because it's rampant. The whole nation's been rampant with fraud in the elections, and actually per the HAVA Act of 2002, I don't think the machines have been certified from like 2017 to 2018, so it's just a good idea overall. And actually, we have our own money to do it, so money shouldn't be an issue.
Anyone else?
I don't know if I'm on the agenda, but I'll take my 3 minutes anyway.
Sure.
Dr. Robert Turek. Speaking in regards to the resolution put together by myself and an excellent resolution by Jeffrey. Your third speaker, I think was incorrect and possibly didn't read either of our resolutions. Neither of our resolutions claim fraud in any way, shape, or form, but they're only seeking to validate the election results that happened in 2020, moving forward into 2022 to make sure everything is moving smoothly, everything is done correctly. Neither of our resolutions say there will be any cost to the taxpayer. In fact, quite the opposite. We say they will be privately funded audits, no cost to the Alcona County taxpayer. The Michigan Senate report that he's referencing, that Jeff will talk more, said specifically that there was discovered numerous errors, mistakes, intentional and unintentional, failure to uphold the law, inconsistencies, tainted voter rolls, etc. And specifically said, and I quote, "Our current election systems require change." You can't change an election system until you know if there's a problem. The only way we would know if there's a problem is to conduct the audit, see if there was a problem, and make those changes going forward into 2022. That's what we're seeking to do. Once again, neither of our resolutions claim fraud. Going back to what both of our resolutions say, the Michigan State Constitution states that every citizen of the United States who is an elector qualified to vote in Michigan shall have the right to have the results of statewide elections audited in such a manner as prescribed by law to ensure accuracy and integrity of elections. That's all we want to do. It does not say anywhere that fraud needs to be proven, doesn't need to say fraud is accused. All it says, we have the right to audit the elections to make sure that they have been accurate and held with integrity. So I'll speak later, but thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Anyone else?
I just, my name is William Sickner, and I live at 3257 South at 41, Mankato. I just came to speak in support of the resolutions to audit the election. I believe that there's enough questions about the election that elections that an audit should be conducted.
Sir, I'm sorry, I didn't get your name.
William Sickner.
Thanks, William.
Cameron Kenner, 2810 7th Creek Road, Lincoln, Michigan. I'm here in support of the full forensic audit. Alcona County is just a little community in our neck of the woods, but we're part of a big puzzle of Michigan. And I think that we should stand up and just make sure we're not saying that anybody local or nothing personal against anybody, but the whole election is in question. We all know that. You don't come up with 8.1 million extra votes and not have something wrong. So let's just chuck us up saying we did it and we did it right and no, nothing's wrong. Let's just get it done.
Thank you.
I'll say one quick thing. Lisa Turek, Harrisville, Michigan. Well, Michigan, we all know we're in Michigan. I got a PowerPoint presentation from a lady in Sheboygan who's also looking at a full forensic audit in Sheboygan County. And in their tiny, with the original just information that she borrowed from her county clerk, they found 117 adjudicated ballots that had been returned. Adjudicated meaning they went through the machine and got pushed out because of coffee stains, bleed through from Sharpies, overvotes, funny marks on it, folded where it couldn't get flat. And so 117 out of that small county got sent back to, well, they're not sure where yet, whether they went to another committee who put the votes in, or they were sent to the state who put those votes in, or however they thought was good. So out of that county, they had 117 votes that had problems with it. So it's just a little more to say that there's small counties in Michigan that also have tiny problems. It doesn't have to be a big problem or that there's any kind of major fraud. In fact, looking at some of the maps, Alcona County on Michigan had very little fraud compared to some of the other counties in Michigan. But I also agree that it would be good to just make sure that we're checking everything, that our voting systems are correct and accurate, and that's going forward into 2022, we can be assured that everything is exactly how it's supposed to be, and there's no anomalies in any of our voting. Thank you.
What else?
My name is Linda Everline. I live at 4266 East Westmoreland Road, Greenbush, Michigan. And I'm also in support of the two resolutions, or three, the one in regards to the full forensic audit. I have a lot of people that I know that are telling me they don't even want to vote. And because they don't believe that the vote's true. We need proof. If I was gonna get on a boat and that boat sunk last week, I want somebody to tell me and prove to me that it's not gonna sink today. And that's the way a lot of people are looking at our upcoming election, as they're seeing it. It's just neither with voting because they don't believe it's true. It's paid for, it's our right. And so people should have a right to know that what they're voting, their vote counts. And so there's really no reason not to do it. Secondly, I'm also in support of no vaccine mandates. I was sitting here thinking about it and I remember when HIV came out at first, and everybody was panicked. I mean, I was a social worker. I was afraid to go see my clients because I was afraid one of them might have HIV and I could get sick and die. But I was not allowed to ask anybody. If I even found out a whisper that somebody had HIV, one of my clients, I couldn't say anything to anybody. I couldn't warn anyone that they might get sick by touching a doorknob. It was full out fear. And look, and nothing ever came with it. And I believe it's the same here. No one has a right.
All right.
Mike Mockridge, please mute your microphone. Thank you. Sorry, guys.
I spent over 20 years. And I expect it to be honored here too. With me, I did it for other people, my clients, but I worked as a social worker for 20, 25 years. I expect the same rights for myself. Thank you.
My name is Margaret Katsera.
Still on.
Turn off your microphone, please. Hey, John, if you're listening, mute them temporarily, would you please? Thank you. All right, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm here not to support the resolution for an audit. There are so many. I've heard everybody here. It's a lot of fear. And first of all, and most importantly, I want to say that it's a horrible affront to our county clerk and all the township and city clerks that manage elections every year, whether it's a presidential or local elections. They have training. I know myself, I've been through it, extensive training about how to manage the election, how to take care of these votes, like this woman was saying about Sheboygan, and I'll get back to Sheboygan. I'm so glad. But this is a very methodical and legal way of managing elections in our county. I'm very proud of our clerks and of all the people that volunteer their time. They come there and they work the whole day in order to honor everyone's vote, Republican or Democrat. It doesn't matter. There is always a checks and balance. There's a Republican and a Democrat always checking and balancing everything, even spoiled votes. And that's something that's happened through history, spoiled votes. That's what that's called, a spoiled vote. It happens. But if you're really interested in checking to see if our elections are legal and viable, there are all kinds of avenues and remedies out there already. There is a FOIA. You can go and request, for instance, if you're very concerned about those spoiled votes, you can go and request those votes. Yes, you can.
I didn't say you put it in.
Oh, I'm sorry, this just presentation.
And
Address the board,
furthermore, aside from FOIA law, which affects elections or anything legal in our county clerk's office or any office, commissioner, there's also, and I will bring up a letter written to the Michigan Bureau of Elections from the Sheboygan County Commission, who tried to have an audit. And they noted that, don't forget, there's also other activities that describe in the letter of the law that may be conducted through review of materials by examining public record law. Or let's don't forget about, there's a notification in the newspaper before every election for people to come to your township or your county and watch and the machines being utilized and to make sure that they are doing the proper work that they are supposed to do. It's in the newspaper. You are all invited every time there's an election, but no one ever shows up. Where are you? That's the remedy that we need to take as citizens. Those things are available to us. So no, I am not in support of an audit. I'm not in support of causing more money to taxpayers in our county to do something that's already available. Remedy's already available to all of us. It always has been. And my last comment I'm going to make about this is what an insult to our county clerk and our clerks of our townships and our city here in your county. They take the education, they take their jobs seriously. Everything has a check and balance. Everything does. And all I'm asking is that you go and take the revenues that are available to you and see that there is no excuse to have some audit come and do something that we can already do.
Okay, that's your 2 minutes.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? And if you would address the board and not the assembly, please.
Sorry, my name is Jim Masseri, 799 US 23 in Harrisville Township. I'm in support of a full audit. And I guess it just kind of made the hair on my neck stand up a moment ago when we're not attacking people. We're not attacking the town. We're not attacking anyone. But if anybody in this room can tell me that our trust in government hasn't been broken in the last 2 years and that our country has truly become divided, and the only answer to that has to start in every little county. And this county can show that our elections are completely upfront, completely fair, completely accurate, because that's what I believe they are. And when we talk about, we just heard there's no taxpayer money, but we're going to throw that out again because let's scare people. It's being paid for. And I think there's no better way to build trust back in your local government, your state government, and your federal government than through transparency. We've heard it 1,000 times. All we need to do is be transparent. If there's a group that's willing to do this, it's willing to be funded. They're not pointing fingers at clerks or anyone else. They're just simply saying, let's get back to a point where both sides can agree that this is fair. Because right now, I can assure you, a large portion of the population of our country thinks there was something wrong.
Thank you. Yes, please.
Hi, Tamara Quick, 4321 East Eaton Road, Harrisville, Haynes Township. Just took over as the new clerk there. Not offended at all. Okay, I don't think any other clerks would be offended. I think it's really important that we go through for the same reasons this gentleman just shared here. And also the reason a full forensic audit is necessary. I think you've heard the definition perhaps at the last meeting, but Mr. Brady asked me, like, why did I think that was necessary? Who did I contest? It wasn't anybody locally. My daughter, Nicole, some of you know her, she graduated several years ago, and we never ever received any absentee ballots at our house for any of our children. My husband and I have 5 children combined. So we received about maybe 3. I wish I would have kept them for my daughter, Nicole, who had moved away years and years ago. So in 2020, we received several absentee ballots in her name. She was married and registered to vote in New York. So those are the types of things that we want to clear up. And also just to mention that it's not going to cost taxpayers any money. Just to reiterate that. Thank you for your time.
Please.
My name is Jessica Dobbs. I live 4236 King Corners Road, right there in Glenny. I'll be speaking later with my husband when we present the resolutions. As far as the full forensic audit, I do want to specify that obviously there's no blame being laid on anybody. We're not pointing fingers at anybody. We want to make sure everything's on the up and up. And I also want to clarify, you know, as a business owner, there's always the threat of an audit to make sure that your business practices are on the up and up. Why would it be any different for the government? Thank you.
Anyone else?
I'd like to speak.
Please. Oh, one sec, if you don't mind. Go ahead, Trina.
Okay, Trina Bornstein, 4680 West Miller Road in Greenbush. I wanted to speak against the resolution. I think that there is no evidence of fraud. And I don't think the majority of people in the county really want to have this happen. Just a very vocal minority. Also, I think it's a monumental waste of time. And I'm not opposed to the Republican Party, whoever wrote this resolution, spending their money this way, but the system isn't broke and it doesn't need fixed. And I just think it's ludicrous. Thanks.
Thank you. Please.
Yeah, short and sweet. My name's Jane Faulkner, 4119 North Norway Road, Lincoln, Michigan. And just real quickly, I am for the 3 resolutions. I think it's an awesome effort. And I am 100%, 1000% if I could be for this resolution being sent through.
Thank you. Anyone else? Oh, here we go. Medley. Yeah, go ahead. Oh, your microphone's not on.
Can you hear me now?
Here we go.
Okay, thank you. I live on Hubbard Lake in Alcona Township. I have a couple concerns. I would like to hear what group is paying for this audit because they claim to be partisan. I think that would help us understand maybe their motivation if they were to reveal that to us. Secondly, if someone received an application for a ballot, then they would have applied for a absentee ballot. And if somebody living in a different state took one of our applications and applied for an absentee ballot, I believe that's fraud. So I'm guessing that this probably did not happen, as was just stated. And I think what really concerns me is all the whataboutism I'm hearing. I know a bunch of people that this happened to. I'm not hearing people say, I know personally. And I guess what I've been following how this election has panned out and all of the conspiracy things that have come out of it, none of the lawsuits, which is the remedy for an election that you're contesting, I don't think I've heard of any one of them that went to completion without being thrown out. I'm still waiting for somebody to not just do whataboutism, but to really have some proof. And there are little things that are always going to happen in every election. We're parents, we know that. But I think that this whataboutism makes it sound like it's a huge problem when there probably isn't one. And last but not least, we're watching lawyers who spend time on this being disbarred. I really think that we need to look at our sources of information and make sure that we're getting sources that are accurate, that are held to law, to legal standards to prove that it's accurate. I think the distrust in this country is being stoked by those who have an agenda. I'm sorry, I'm not very trusting that this is about all of us feeling better. Again, I'd like to know who's paying for this and to understand the motive here. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, hearing none. Move on to presentations. Yeah, but we'll move on to presentations.
You want to take me out of here now?
This is one of the fun parts of modern technology.
I can make copies.
Okay, we'll go to the EEO plan utilization report.
Hi, I'm Jessica Lewis with the Kona County Truck Court. As you are aware, we are required to do a lot of reporting for our federal grant that's used to support the local drug court for the Kona County, Alaska County, and Osceola County. One of the requirements of that grant is that we were required to complete the utilization report for equal opportunity. And when they first approached the court itself has less than 50 employees, so we believe we are exempt. But because our fiduciary is Kona County, they're requiring that we do this plan, and we didn't already have one in place. Understanding I'm not a county employee, I'm a court employee, I've done my best to try to put together this plan. I've had assistance with Carolyn, from the personnel committee. I also had assistance from the county clerk's office to compile a list of active employees, what the information that they require from the utilization plan. We're omitted for race because we're less than, the minority is less than 3%. So it's basically a category of 8 different type of classification types for employees who work for Kona County. And it's elected officials, and it's appointed officials that are deputies, such as deputies is that, and also seasonal employees. So with those numbers, we put together this equalization or this equal employment opportunity plan that's required for the federal grant. And I'm presented it to the board, and I basically need your signature so I can submit it for the federal funding.
Okay.
And I have an original copy. I think all of you have a copy of the report to review.
Yep.
Some of the things that is required that I put into the report, that is some objectives and steps we're going to do for underutilization. We don't have a lot of underutilization, but it's in a comparison to the census numbers. So, and another thing that we had to do is include a distribution plan. And that distribution plan will be basically to have it posted, to have it provided on our webpage, to have it provided to the unions, and available to any supervisors so they can provide it to their staffing. So this is something we want to show. That's what the distribution requirement would be for the county. Not being to be presumptuous as a court employee to do that for the county, but being a fiduciary, we need to report. I did it for the matter.
Okay. Is there time sensitivity?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we can put it under new business.
Or you can't have, or you want to work on it down.
All right, I'll accept the motion to, all right.
Second.
By Carolyn, seconded by Terry. Do we need a roll call on this?
I'd ask for a call.
We'll have a roll call.
Gothier,
Yes.
Brumman.
Yes.
Brady,
Yes.
Small,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Jen, you need Dan to sign.
I do.
Yeah. And allow the chair to sign.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Y'all have a good day.
Next up, presentation, Jeffrey and Jessica Dobbs, Jim White, Judy French. Resolution request.
Thank you. I appreciate all of your time and your consideration. My name, as you heard, is Jeffrey Dobbs. I'm a full-time resident of Alpena County, Glen, Michigan. I own and operate 2 photography companies, Michigan Photography, and Nature. I'm also the vice chair of the Alcona County Republican Party and a member of the small local organization, Alcona Grassroots Conservatives. I'm coming before you as a concerned citizen most of all. I'm bringing 3 resolutions that I'd like you all to consider passing. Because we see these resolutions material as fundamental and foundational to our freedom as citizens of the United States. And background on me, this is like way outside of my comfort zone. The last thing I want to be doing right now is giving a speech to my county commissioners. I just want to do my own thing, live my own life, be my own person, but sometimes life dictates, so here I am, imploring you to do something that might wind up being a little outside of your comfort zone. But I truly am asking for full consideration of these 3 points. No one really likes to stick their neck out, but sometimes do the right thing. The main point here, before I get into the brass tacks or whatever the resolutions is, my goal of being here is to do my small part to leave the next generation of Americans a free country, a truly free country, uninhibited, with a vote we can trust, without government interference, as I see it, in mandating medical treatment that they may or may not need based on their own decisions. And what ultimately motivated me to be here was this quote: "If not you, then who? If not now, then when?" So here I am. So the first issue is most people seem to be here on is the full forensic audit. It's important to note, we're not attempting to change the outcome of any elections. Not at all. We're not attempting to lay blame at anyone's feet, whether they're local officials, county employees, or township workers. We're not blaming a single solitary soul. The elections are controlled by a private entity, Dominion. We have Dominion machines in this county, and a lot of the clerks, I've talked to people all throughout the state, the clerks don't know what goes on inside those machines. Third parties have their hands in our elections, and it is our Michigan constitutional right to audit the election. We're not asking for anything outside of the law. This is our right, and this is how we want to clarify it. We want both Democrats and Republicans to have a solid foundational notion to know that their vote counts. That's all. So we're just simply doing our best to ascertain the total and complete truth. There's nothing to hide. Let's get third-party forensic audit team in here and get this done. To address the funding question that we had earlier, we're going to raise the money ourselves, and we're going to contact forensic experts throughout the industry. People have been doing this in other states and other counties. You may have heard of Maricopa. We want to be a leader in Michigan. We're asking you to follow our model, first of 83. We'd send a message to the Michigan legislature that we, even though we went red, we can still lead the rest of the state in conducting our own audit, where we prove that there was no fraud, there was no outside influence, or we ascertain that there were problems and we know how to fix them. That's really all I've got to say on that. We just want a chance to examine the truth. And we don't want to blame anyone, because I believe that people are good, inherently good. And there are people outside the system, outside of our county, that have their fingers in our elections. And I want to make sure that every one of these people, all of your constituents, hear your voice and say, we want the truth. That's what I want. That's what everyone should want, just the truth. Nothing more, nothing less. So we'll raise the money. We're going to put our money where our mouth is to raise the money. Thoughts are here, and we all talk. We're going to try GoFundMe. We're going to talk to outside sources where they've offered to pay for the whole state. Maybe they'll offer to pay for our county as well. So this is, we have recourse, and the money will come from outside taxpayer pockets. We're asking for it. There's opposition. It feels standard reason we put our mouth where our Yeah, it's basically, you know, the Senate report was mentioned. They mentioned in the report about the quote, quite simply, they admit these problems. They're not even election experts. One's a farmer, one's a doctor, one's you know, like these guys were on the Senate report, they're not experts. While they conclude there's no fraud, they do see problems. So we can lead the way and head these problems off the path. Next would be the legislation that's on the table in Lansing, preventing state government from mandating COVID vaccine passports. To me, and to the people I've worked with, crafting this resolution, there's no more fundamental personal right than to willingly choose what you do with your own body. No more foundation, no more fundamental. That's it. My body, my choice. That's the tagline they use, right? And it's been alluded to as well that government has absolutely no place in interfering with the private relationship between a doctor and a patient. Okay. Which is precisely what a COVID-19 passport would do. Government mandating you to do something that you may not want to do. Sue Laura is the author of one of these three resolutions. She is our direct representative. She's taking a lot of heat in Lansing for this. I feel backing this House bill, or three House bills on the resolution, would tell her that we're behind it. And it would tell Lansing that you're behind your constituents. Because you allow government to slowly integrate into your, or interfere, I guess. I'm shaking here now, but basically the potential for overreach is astounding. You guys last year put out, I think it was resolution 2020-15, to open the county up against the state mandate. I'm asking you to support state legislation written by, representatives to keep us free, basically. It does bear mentioning that from November 14th, 2020 through August 6th, 2021, according to the U.S. government's own National Institute of Health Affairs website, the Vaccine Awareness Reporting System, there have been reported 12,791 deaths directly correlated to the COVID-19 vaccine. And there have been many multitudes more of adverse reactions reported. So if a certain citizen decides that they don't want to risk it, they're healthy otherwise, they don't want to inject something that can cause death, 12,000 is not a small number, then I believe that should be their choice. This request also has constitutional backing, but it also goes back to foundational freedoms, like the Articles of Confederation, even before that, because a passport implies movement. So a passport can be used to restrict travel if you don't have a passport. So we need to be able to get around and conduct our lives. And that's one of the more essential rights as recognized by basically every entity out there, is the right to be able to travel, take care of yourselves. Many people have talked to this greatest fear is becoming like Australia, where people get 1 hour of freedom outside per day, 1 hour of freedom. But if you're vaccinated, you get an extra hour, so you have 2 hours of freedom per day to go outside and exercise and live your life. If it can happen there, it can happen here. We want to send a message that we don't want that to happen here. So the next legislation is more, or next resolution is more private based. So we want to prevent private entities. And this is also House bills that are on the floor in the House of representatives in Lansing. So the premise on this one's pretty similar to the last one, except that it wishes to voice public support of the Michigan state legislation, which prevents private discrimination based on the vaccine status of an individual. So anecdotally, if the vaccines work for those who are vaccinated, why would they need everyone to be vaccinated? You know, if they work, then why is there a risk to those who are already inoculated? And I think anyone in this room can agree, we cannot allow discrimination based on any status, race, creed, color, medical status. And this is an anti-discrimination bill we're asking the county to support. Supporting these House bills will work toward the goal of maintaining freedom and protect your own constituents, which many I've talked to in my short time living here are very concerned about this. So really, that's it. In conclusion, I'd like to implore you all to put these resolutions to a vote. I want you to stand up for the citizens of your county, Alcona County, with the courage and conviction that you are doing the right thing. You did the right thing last year, as I mentioned, when you passed resolution 2020-13. That took courage. You should be proud of yourselves for doing that. Please do the right thing again this year and support the passing of these three resolutions. And I'm going to ask you the same question that I found myself. If not you, then who? If not right now, then when? Thank you all for your time. I really appreciate it.
I have an article that I found. I think we should all hear it. It ties in with the vaccine resolutions. And so these words are not my words. I do want you to know that. However, again, I feel it's very important that we all hear these words. The article I found is called "Welcome to 1938. First they came for the unvaccinated." This is an article by Wayne Allen Root. It was published on August 9th, 2021. And this is what he says. "This is the most important commentary I've ever written. It's time for alarm bells. It's time for me to play the part of Paul Revere, saying, the communist tyrants and dictators are coming. The communist tyrants and dictators are coming. They're coming first for unvaccinated Americans. This is 1938. I'm a Jew. I now understand just a little of what it felt like to be a Jew in 1938. No, it's not the Holocaust. Nothing can be compared to the Holocaust, ever. But 1938 was not the Holocaust. It was the pre-Holocaust. It was the time before the nightmare, when the foundation was being laid to destroy the freedom, free speech, businesses, and lives of millions of Jews. Everything happening today to the American people, to the United States Constitution, to freedom, and particularly to unvaccinated Americans, reminds me of 1938. This is only the beginning. It gets much worse from here. First, the papers. Vaccine mandates and vaccine passports are just like 1938, when the Gestapo demanded papers from every German. Republicans asked for papers from migrants who had broken into our country, criminals. Democrats said, no, that's racism. Republicans asked for papers once every 2 years for federal elections to prove you have a right to vote. Democrats said, no, that's racism. Now Democrats want American citizens, not illegal aliens, not criminals, but patriots born in this country to produce papers 24/7. We'll need papers to enter restaurants, bars, nightclubs, concerts, casinos, conventions, and hotels, and to board a train, plane, or bus. We'll need papers to enter a supermarket, or we'll starve to death. All for the crime of being unwilling to inject an untested, rush to production, experimental, for experimental use only, shot into our bodies. What happens to the war cry of the Democrats, my body, my choice? It only applies to murdering babies, but it doesn't apply to dangerous experimental shots we don't want injected into our bodies. Weren't Jews injected with experimental drugs by the depraved Nazi government? Wasn't that a key part of the Nuremberg trials? That no government could ever again inject experimental shots into the bodies of unwilling citizens? Isn't that a basic human right? By the way, this isn't about vaccines. If you want the vaccine, take it. I'd never stop you. I'd never limit your freedom, your choice. This is about vaccine mandates. Forcibly injecting Americans who don't want it. That is 1938. But there is much more in common with 1938. Mask mandates. If you're scared, wear them. I'm not scared. I don't want to wear them. Mandates are about forcing individuals to lose their freedom of choice, individuality, and human rights. That is 1938. Lockdowns are a match with the Warsaw Ghetto. Jews were locked down. Jews couldn't work. Jews couldn't travel. Jewish businesses were labeled non-essential. If government can force us to close our businesses, to kill our jobs, to decide who is non-essential, then this is 1938. Stars on clothing, it's coming. The vaccinated get into restaurants, bars, concerts, supermarkets, planes, and trains. They keep their jobs. The rest of us are marked as subhuman for life. That's the star. That is 1938. Media and social media as the public relations wing of the government. That's called propaganda. Remind you of 1938? Back then, the Jews' books were burned. Today, it's those of conservatives, patriots, and specifically the unvaccinated. We are silenced. Our facts are labeled misleading. Only the facts that agree with big government's agenda count. That's 1938. Door-to-door intimidation and making lists of those who disagree with government knows best. Trust me, that army of door-to-door vaccine brainwashers will soon be turned into a Gestapo of gun grabbers. 1938 was the year the Nazis banned Jews from owning guns. They took them door to door. That's 1938. Only days ago, a former Department of Homeland Security official said the unvaccinated should be on the federal no-fly list. That's exactly how Nazis attacked the Jews and others who disagreed with their agenda. It was always lists. Lists of people to be disappeared in the middle of the night. Lists of those to be sent to re-education camps. Lists of those to be sent to concentration camps. Lists of enemies of the state. It's happening again. Maybe this time you'll only lose your job or free speech. This is again 1938. It's all disgusting and disgraceful, but I'm warning you, this is just the start. It's all going downhill from here, fast. This is the end of America. This is 1938. Unless we stop it now. Unless we take a stand now. Unless we draw a line in the sand now. First, they came for the unvaccinated. Trust me, next, they're coming for you. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Okay, if that's all for your presentation, we'll hear from Robert Turek.
Hi again, thank you for your time. Hard to top that. The resolution I put forth to you, it's called the Resolution for Vaccine Awareness and Medical Autonomy. I want you to know that's the exact same resolution that was passed by the Grand Traverse County Commissioners 2 weeks ago. All I took out was one paragraph that says something about August being Vaccine Awareness Month. So that exact resolution has already been passed by Grand Traverse County. Moving on to the full forensic audit, I wanted to continue on with what Jeff said. Both our resolutions say three things. List the Michigan statute that says full forensic audit is the right of every Michigan citizen. We're not claiming fraud. In fact, the efforts of the audit would be to validate that the 2020 election results in Alcona County were correct. And number three, there will be no cost to the Alcona County taxpayer. There might be some confusion as to what a full forensic audit includes. A recount is basically just a retabulation of the ballots, a double checking of the math. Here are some things that a full forensic audit would include, and you can see that these are things that no way a private citizen could do on their own either before or directly after an election. We have done some things on our own. We've requested through the Freedom of Information Act some information from our clerk. We're not the only ones who have done that. But we're going to continue on with that. Full forensic audit would include things like, but not limited to, did anyone vote more than once? Did any dead people vote? Did anyone vote who does not live in Alcona County? Did anyone vote using a non-existent address? Did anyone vote from a vacant or commercial address? Did any non-citizens vote? Are all the ballots themselves printed on legitimate paper? Were military or overseas ballots signature verified as is required in Michigan statutes? Were the machines certified? Were the machines operating correctly? Were there software updates made to the machine that required the machines to be recertified, and was that recertification done? How many ballots required adjudication? Adjudication is a fancy word meaning had to be manually handled for some reason other than just scanned by the machines. How many ballots required this adjudication, and was that number greater than that allowed for Alcona County based on the total number of votes cast? As my wife mentioned earlier, that the preliminary result from Sheboygan is Sheboygan County had more than 3 times the number of adjudicated ballots that were allowed under Michigan statutes to make that a legal election. Can we say for sure that the same didn't happen in Alcona County? No, we didn't. Just a few other things. The full forensic audit that's concluding right now in Arizona, where the results will be released any day. They've already released some preliminary information. I want to give you that, because that information is out. More than 74,000 absentee ballots were counted that there is no clear record of ever having been sent out. 18,000 voters were struck from the voter rolls immediately following the election. 4,000 absentee ballots lacked documentation. Thousands of ballots were manually duplicated without the proper documentation to do so. 11,000 voters who were not on the November election rolls, but who showed up later on the December voter rolls, were allowed to vote. Thousands of ballots had quote unquote bleed through marks, like that which would occur by using a Sharpie as opposed to a ballpoint pen, which then had to be adjudicated, meaning manually handled or duplicated or scanned. The scanner calibration issues caused adjudication. We are concerned, amongst other things, we know that at least in 3 of the voting locations in Alcona County, Sharpies were instructed to be used and were used. We need to know how many of those ballots were caused to be adjudicated and how many of those are affecting the total and whether that can affect the viability of Alcona County's election in general. I go back to the Michigan Senate Oversight Committee, a bipartisan committee. Their report on the November 2020 election showed, and I quote, "Our current election system requires change. They found numerous errors, mistakes, both intentional and unintentional, inconsistencies, etc. We don't know for sure which of these has happened in Alcona County. That is the purpose of the audit. We do know that the clerk is getting other Freedom of Information Act requests other than us. Do we really want Alcona County to have every citizen putting in a frequent Freedom of Information request, or people around the country putting in a Freedom of Information request to audit our election? Or do we want to hire an expert to do it? It's at our cost. We're willing to put that forth because we think it's that important to do, like what the Michigan Constitution says, ensure the accuracy and integrity of our election. We would like to do this to make sure everything is in shape for the 2022 upcoming election cycle. Thank you very much for your time.
Let's do this. Let's take a 5-minute recess, or I'll make a motion to take a 5-minute recess and come back. Pass a lot of time here in case anybody needs to use themselves for a minute or so. We have go around. How does that work? I would just like a 5-minute recess then, please. We adjourn at 2:35. Yeah.
How are you? I'm old too. Hurting. Your body's hurting. He's working so hard, you gotta say hi. Yeah. Signature and cut and paste it on their thing.
That doesn't surprise me. That doesn't surprise me.
But I mean, you know, that was proper, I assume, but like, that's crazy. I'm gonna be all on it.
But I'll keep doing stuff online and.
All right, we'll come back into session. Please. Yeah, go ahead. All right, I'm gonna start out here. I'm going to, for the sake of conversation, I want to make a motion to, yes, I have to say approve the resolution in regards to the forensic audit. Both of them really, but
I was gonna say which one.
let's say the, both in the same spirit. I don't want to, not trying to be exclusive here. We'll do the Dobbs. Jessica Dobbs. Resolution. Full forensic audit, yes, please.
All right, for the purpose of discussion, I will set the second.
Motion is seconded. Now we may discuss.
I would ask the question, is that something that we have the legal authority to do?
I suppose that's why I'm here.
Please.
For those of you who don't know me, my name's Tom Weichel. I'm the Alcona County prosecutor. I had the opportunity to take a look at the resolutions and the constitutional amendment that was enacted in 2018 by referendum. And there's a piece of that language that controls that statute. And it allows an audit as prescribed by law. That's where we run into a problem. We have to now go to the legislation that was adopted when that referendum passed. When you read that legislation, and Dr. Turk, I heard you mention a statute contained within the resolution. I looked through the resolutions and I didn't see a statute. The statute I find that supports that constitutional amendment is MCL 168.31A.
Are you asking me which one it is that both of us put, it was in the Michigan State Constitution? Is that what you're looking for? Which
No, you
section?
mentioned statute. I know what Article 2, Section 4 of the Constitution says. I've read that. Okay.
What's the statute?
It is 168.31A.
Thank you.
That's the audit statute that followed that referendum. It's not good when I read it because it provides that responsibility in the hands of, guess who? The Secretary of State. It provides discretion on how the audits are to occur. There were several lawsuits that occurred shortly after the election, which our Supreme Court refused to look at. If you look at the dissenting opinion by Justice Viviano in that case, it explains quite a bit about his thoughts. That was a 4-3 decision by the Supreme Court. No surprise on anyone's part, probably. But when you start looking at what prescribed by law means and what we're legally able to do, the county gets extremely limited in any authority that they have to order an audit. Go ahead, please.
I'm sorry, but it's addressed to the board. It's not a public. I mean, if at the end, it's 5 minutes you want to speak, that's fine, but.
Just recently, matter of fact, I think it was 2-3 weeks ago, the Attorney General provided an opinion in reference to an attempt to get the Inspector General's office to do an audit. And the Attorney General's opinion is basically, sorry, audit is in the hands of the chief election person for the state of Michigan, Secretary of State. The Auditor General can only audit the procedures they followed in doing some of the precinct audits that they did. So they kind of tied the Inspector General's office ability to audit the election also. I will tell you, in I think it was February or March, the Senate proposed some legislation to make some changes. The difficult thing in reference to making changes in the audit statute is it requires a 2/3 vote by both the House and the Senate to change any of that. So when you're asking the county to do something they're not authorized to do by law, it creates an issue. Now, if your resolutions were asking the Senate or asking the House to go forward and change the prescribed by law, what they did, that's fine. That's a policy issue. But what would happen if they approved it? You now have to go to this young lady sitting here and say, hey, we approved this. And she's going to say, sorry, I can't do it because elections are controlled by the Secretary of State. These machines are controlled by the Secretary of State. And if we start monkeying with them, we got to buy new ones. So, it starts a snowball effect. I understand that there is a county north to us that did approve the resolution. Secretary of State's not letting anybody touch anything. And it's unfortunate that that's the system that we have to deal with because of that constitutional amendment. It's almost like we were duped, thinking that this amendment was going to take care of issues that we see in elections, and it just doesn't. We can't get there. I wholeheartedly agree with a number of you that my vote should count for one vote. We are in the process of doing what's called apportionment or reapportionment based on the census, where we reapportion commissioner districts to make sure each person's vote counts as one. So we have a kind of a close number of population that each one of these persons represent. That's what our election should stand for. So when it comes to the audit and a forensic audit, we just don't have control over that. The law does not allow for it. I wish it did. I think if it did, we would have seen it done already. I know there were a number of pushes by a number of entities to get an audit done, and you haven't seen one. And there's a reason why you haven't seen one. Because we can't do one. So if anyone's got questions, I'm available out there. My office is here. Call me at any time. We can talk further about this. But I would advise this board, they don't have authority to sign a resolution like that. Whether I agree with the concept or not, we're a nation that believes in the rule of law, and we're going to follow it. And unfortunately, I have other laws out there that I have to prosecute that I don't necessarily agree with. But I've taken an oath, and I stand by that.
Further discussion? All right, hearing none. Go ahead. Are you requesting a roll call?
Yes.
Okay, roll call, please.
Brumman.
May I ask a question first?
Well, I answered.
I'm
Where'd you
sorry.
go? Oh, you had your hand up? That's why you had to yell at me and throw stuff.
I didn't have any to I will ask legal counsel, how can I vote yes or no when it's illegal for me to approach the subject?
Yeah, I'm scratching my head wondering why it's gone to a vote too, but that's just me.
That's all we can discuss under the rules of Mr. Roberts.
I mean, I'm not opposed to this audit. But since we're not paying for it.
The wording of the resolution cannot be enforced.
But is that a no vote then?
That's gonna,
I'm going to vote no, but I voted no. Only because we can't.
Anybody
Gothier?
else? Oh, sorry.
Carolyn, you were a no.
Correct.
Gothier.
No.
Brady,
No.
Thompson,
No.
Small,
No.
I have my hand up, sir.
Motion. Yeah, already? You have to do it faster.
I would like to move that the Alcona County Board of Commissioners communicate to our legislators, Senate and House, that we are in opposition of the current structure for audits of elections.
thank you.
Thank you.
By everybody or how?
Just a letter that communicates, look, you guys have got to fix this.
All right, we have a motion. We have a second by Bill.
Karen, can I get clarification, Carolyn, on your motion, opposition, what?
To the, help me out, to the current. 168.31A. Yes.
Yeah.
What's somebody say?
MCL.
MCL 168.31A.
Basically
Thank
want to put the power in the hands of the people to audit their own elections.
Put it back to the Senate and the House even, that's an improvement.
Right. That's how it should be. They have the plenary authority to do it.
Yeah, and I'm fine with if they have it, but anyway, that would be my motion. Thank you.
Now let's have questions. Now this
Yeah.
letter is gonna be written and then we're gonna be able to review it before this thing is all signed by us to send out.
It's fine with me.
And it's gonna happen.
If that's the case, then I would move to table. Until the next meeting for review.
Yeah, you can't agree to a letter you don't know the content of. Getting lost in the rules here. Where are we at?
The motion is to
Make motion, so we have to, with the initial motion in this.
Need to
Support.
support for this, for the
I need
table,
support
and
for
no
the table.
discussion.
I'll support the table.
All right, move the support of the table until the letter is drafted and presented to the commissioner. So, all those in favor?
Aye.
Yes, motion carries. Anybody other wish to bring anything else forward? Okay, hearing none. Move on. Unfinished business.
I'm sorry.
EMS.
And before we go forward, these people will take time out of the day, and I really do want to.
Terry, okay, go.
And I know you, we all feel, thank you for wanting to be part of the system and coming forward and talking to us. And I do appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And again, thank you.
Okay. EMS fiber optic.
So basically, that's on there, that we have transferred the funds, funds are available. We're just asking that the chair signs the contract so we can get this thing moving.
That's a motion from Dan to sign the contract for the fiber optic for the EMS building. Supported by Carol. Any further discussion?
Just so everybody knows that it has been approved by Tom, prosecutor. He's approved it. And that we do also have no money due until it's completely installed. So
Okay, that's no more discussion. Now roll call, please.
Gothier,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Small,
Yes.
Brady,
Yes.
Brumman.
Yes.
So, what do you got? Forest Service. Okay, well, we need to add the Forest Service building to unfinished business.
I'm just bringing this up, received the email from them. We see the district ranger out of here in this, here in Manistee National Forest. And he's basically saying that the purchase agreement that we had sent over to for their review on the possibility of purchasing the property down the street with houses are soil erosion and conservation district. They're asking basically for almost a guarantee that we would buy it at a fair market, at their appraised fair market value. And I would make a motion that we do nothing with this, let them move forward with whatever they want to do, and whatever happens, happens.
One second for discussion. Motion by Dan, second by Adam.
And basically, you can see from the, they're asking us to, they're basically asking us, they don't want to negotiate lead paint, the different things that are wrong with that building. They basically want almost a guarantee that we're going to buy that for their fair market value, no matter what. And that's just ridiculous. I just think we owe them a letter saying that, go ahead with your auction, sell it, whatever, but at this point in time, we're not interested.
Any other discussion? Okay. And I guess put a roll call this. Review.
What is the verbiage on the motion again?
Most that we have some communication to the Huron Manistee National Forest that we are no longer interested in on a purchase agreement with the building, whatever that address is. But
If I may, with the purchase agreement as submitted by the USDA.
yeah, that's,
We still have interest in the building.
Yeah.
Just not what they've got.
yeah, that's fine. You can change it to that stuff.
Clear as
That was
mud.
a spirit.
Got it.
That was the spirit of what you're trying to say, right?
Yeah.
No, I don't really want to hear what you're saying. Okay, then, we'll do a roll call now.
Brady,
Yes.
Brumman,
Yes.
Gothier,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Small.
Yes.
Okay, new business. Claims.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve the pre-authorized claims and open claim presented for payment between August 18th, 2021 and August 31st, 2021 for check numbers 145-224 to 145-329. And e-check numbers 1642 to 1651 for a grand total of $1,068,380.68.
Motion by Dan, supported by Terry. Did you?
No, I think Bill, you're one of the.
I heard this side today. I don't know where right here. pissed me off. You guys both said it, so I'm gonna stick with my first comment there. Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Thompson.
Yeah.
Brady,
Yes.
Brumman,
Yes.
Small,
Yes.
Gothier.
Yes.
Next is we have in our packets a recommendation from the library board to appoint a trustee. Carrie Turner.
The conservation department in places can.
So moved.
Motion by Brumman, supported by Bill. For the comments. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Next item is jail modifications. If you would be so kind. I know, I'm trying to find my-
I moved in to take full board of commissioner support for the proposed modifications of jail staff and further support the sheriff's decision for this modification.
Support. Motion by Carolyn, supported by Bill. Any discussion?
I guess I'm gonna have a quick question here. You know, if this motion is in any way. Contracts.
The management rights. Section 2. Article 2.
You're comfortable with that? I'm sure we'll have that.
We'll get to that.
There was a big article this morning. Yeah. In case you haven't seen it. Yes. Today. And they were on TV.
Well, this was developed in cooperation with the sheriff and undersheriff. But this is not really my.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor? All those opposed, motion carries. Next item is Melon Township Ordinance 21-03, which you also find in your packets. According to the representative of Melon Township wants to try to get us to vote on this today, really, we have 30 days to look at this, and if we don't say anything, it's automatically approved, but no one representative wants to excavate things. They have to send us a letter.
Yeah.
If they're gonna revise the ordinance.
Yeah, I think the goal is, I'm gonna go with one thing.
Okay.
And this is really regarding short-term rentals, right? Yes.
Yeah. Between now and 30 days, any commissioner has an issue with this, they're welcome to bring it up.
Yep.
Next item is. Did we do the EO plan already? Yes. Oh, well, that's fine. Okay, yes.
This time I would like to bring forward and move to communicate support for House Bills 4667, 4779, and 4780. Is that communication of support to our state representatives in the Senate. Also to our contiguous counties and to MAC.
I don't know what those hospitals are.
Can you repeat the numbers?
Oh, they're the ones in our packet.
It's
They
Sue
have-
Allers.
They're in opposition to vaccine.
Is this last month's packet?
No, today's packet.
They're attachments as
Oh,
part of the
oh.
resolution.
Regards to the resolutions.
Oh,
I feel that a letter of communication to Sue and to Jim is
I got it.
stronger.
I got it.
Do I have a second?
Come on, gentlemen.
I'll second. With much regret. I will second.
Yeah.
Conversation. I'll start.
Okay.
If it's okay with everyone. I have some friends and parishioners that show up to this meeting and I'm hearing their opinions. I'm not 100% convinced on these two issues. Then somebody preached at me about the Holocaust today, so what better way to convince me, we're not dealing with somebody who's trying to bring all the people together and be a nation of one people than to make statements to sow divisiveness. And I understand there's two sides to the point. But when you reply to extremism with extremism, It does not line up with my moral compass. So, anybody else wish to comment?
The motion again, Carolyn, is what?
Write a letter
To support?
to support the two House bills by Sue Ellen.
Kind of feeling that, you know, sometimes it's better to let the house send through their own business.
That is a position some people do take, but others of us take the position that we frequently, when a House bill comes out, send either a hard copy letter on our own individual behalf, not on behalf of the board. This one I'm asking for is on behalf of
You
the
put
board.
the term, excuse me, but you put Carolyn Drummond, County Commissioner? When
Yes,
you
I
send
do.
that? I do.
But my letter says, I, Carolyn Drummond, am contacting you because I think these bills should be voted nay or yay, whatever my position might be on whatever other bills I may be communicating. And sometimes I say, I don't understand how you got to here. I can say that to one of them. There are troubles with it, yes. Because quite frankly, if you support this, the position that we're advocating on this, then you have to go way back and say, my kid had smallpox shot to get into kindergarten. Now, you can't get those waived based on your moral values. I don't know if all school districts do or not. And I've never asked to have them waived myself. But I don't want to live in a society where before I decide if I'm going to offer you a cup of coffee or talk to you or open the door and hold the door open for you, I say, oh, can I see your purple, yellow, white, black card that says you are XYZ? I don't want to do that.
You feel we're at that point?
I feel that if we do nothing, if we don't express ourselves on this, I have a great deal of respect for Sue Allen, and if she feels strong enough on it, I'm ready to ride that way.
Well, and 4471, it was introduced by her, but 4791 has nothing to do with her. Or the other one.
No.
She's only
Yeah,
had one.
you're correct. The first bill is the only one that is first. But I think the three of them have merit. And if you really don't like 79 and 80, I'm going to withdraw them from the motion. But I think that they have merit.
I think the motion was all three.
My motion did include all three, yes. I just. It came up today. If not me, who? If not now, who? And I think that I have an obligation. I respectfully say this to forget all of you, but they don't really mean that, but I just sit down and think, what do I think? I'm supposed to have a mind, I'm supposed to have a brain, I'm supposed to use it. And that's why I support these. Now, I also welcome, as you did earlier, their comments, and I welcome their attendance. But for me,
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Thompson,
No.
Small,
No.
Brady,
No.
Brumman,
yes.
Gothier.
No.
Any other new business decided here? Okay, let's proceed to the finance report. And you got some stuff I gotta think through what to do. Well, actually, I just have to give this to Stephanie. Stephanie, get that in the report too. No, it does not. Anything for finance?
No, I mean, go ahead.
Are these gonna be addressed individually?
No. No, we just had a finance meeting. I've been out of contact for a couple weeks. So we had a finance meeting today. Everything's moving forward. Cheryl and Sheila are moving forward, right, for 2022. Captain, That's all I've got for finance. So,
I would like to say that, yeah, are trying to get our 2022 budget buttoned up here. And I think we're gonna have a problem meeting on schedule. We need to be, I'm gonna say again, the decision to have a budget liaison, or I don't know what I called it, but it is paying out is the best thing since I've been sitting in this table anywhere that I've experienced. So it's fantastic. So that's all I got for finance. Personnel.
We have had our mid-year evaluation meetings with our non-elected department heads. We have a copy that in front of you. I would say things are moving forward. As we all know, COVID just hit them all. Right between. They've all had to do and make modifications, so on and so forth. But I think they'll certainly be helpful anything that you'd like to add. But I think that we.
Well, the 4 that we did are basically have done their goals or almost done their goals. There's a few that have been fixed and that we reduced because of COVID. But John brought up that there's a Lennox dispository, which I said dispository server that will protect against hackers. And what basically it does is if someone gets beyond where they should get into the system, it locks down and has so many days, like a 20-day period, that nothing can be deleted from its server. John can, because he would have a special code to get in, but no one else, if they came in unauthorized, it would just say, you can't do anything here in 20 days. Well, most of the people that are hacking are getting in and wanting something out right away so they can sell it or ransom it or whatever. We're going to review it and see if it might fit into the American Rescue Plan for computers. Also, they're looking into it for the Homeland Security because it is a security type unit. So he brought that up. We discussed with Dave Hansen to get an updated quote for the roofing building to so we get some accurate numbers rather than just ballpark figures. We need to move forward on that. Otherwise, we're going to have a building that is in bad shape. Other than that, it's been pretty good.
Anything else for personnel? Thank you. Treasurer's report, please.
I am getting ready to do the postings for the properties that have gone into foreclosure. We got our numbers for the sale. We had one of the sale properties, one of the bidders back out. So I'll have my report at the next meeting for where we are with that. We have no updates. We'll be sending out our required mailings, or the required mailings were sent out for the September 1st. I believe we were at right around 1,000 notices that went out. I don't have an exact number right now, but we had those printed last week and they went out yesterday, Monday or Tuesday. I was not here either day, so the office got those sent out, and so we should be picking up phone calls and payments, hopefully. Townships are collecting. A few of the townships are a little bit sporadic with their payments. They're not getting them in a timely fashion, but we've contacted those who are not, and hopefully they'll pick up. Other than that, we're just moving along. Taking a step to the budgeting side, I've been in communication with all the departments in regards to the 2022 budget. And I have the information I believe that we have discussed, and I just want to clarify with the board in regards to the phone service. so we can get that taken care of. The bill that came out for the phone service that we got, the new phones, my police. That was to be split out by department, was my understanding. And I got the information from John and that, so it went to all the departments. They knew what to budget for the rest of the year. So that will, I'll give this to you, or you should have a copy, but
I do.
we can go over it and it'll just be the same as, these are the amendments that need to be made. I just wanted to make sure that was where everybody was at with that, the phone services that we
Yep.
adopted. Okay. So we'll get that taken care of.
These are these figures right here.
Yep, this is per month. This is what was needed for the rest of the year.
Okay, got it.
And that was really all. If anybody has any questions on anything.
So when you pay the phone bill on this new lease, those payments coming from different departments, are you gonna put them into one line item, or are they gonna, how are you gonna do that? You're just gonna pay the bill and those,
Well, it depends on how you want it set up. If you want it set up differently than the telephone services, then we could put in a separate telephone lease line item.
I
With
would
a
know if they
separate
have to,
budget.
I would just ask them.
Police department has a telephone line item already.
Yeah.
So they're just gonna increase it to cover this additional cost.
That was my understanding, but if you want to differently, then
We're not even right here.
Okay.
Finally.
All
I
right,
figured out eventually. We'll have to be sure. I just went by your eyes.
Yeah.
Clerk's report.
Yeah.
Yeah, met with finance today also and trying to get as many figures for 2022 as we can right now, based off just basically benefits and salaries, and try to get those in by next week. The apportionment meeting will also be held, and it's posted on the public website, and it's on September 3rd, I believe it is. 3 o'clock. It's kind of just seeing how far we've gotten with the tools that we'll utilize, and where John, he's going to be the administrator to give all 5 of the apportionment numbers the same amount of access. And we'll just kind of see where we're at next Friday. And yep, I got a lot of FOIA requests. I got one I'm stumped on right now, but I'll talk to you later. Okay. And other than that, what? Oh, in your communications, I didn't make you a copy of this, but I received this in the mail and not today, this week. And it was sent from a Beth McDonald, and she found a 1967 plat book, and she thought that the county would like it, so we got that too.
Okay, thank you very much. You've looked in your packet, we have communications from Grand Traverse County. Yeah, and they'll go on find that book about McDonald. Moving on to committee reports. We'll start with there.
Mr. Kelt, you're busy as always. These times. All seen the public, they've been in the papers quite a bit. Need to say any more than they're doing a good job of staying in the papers and putting their information forward. The only other thing I have is the 9/11. Not 9/11, 9/28, or the small ceremony of it. That's a kind of work.
Yeah, I'll be there.
What time is that? 9 o'clock?
9.
Okay, what you, Dan?
no, that was pretty much available the last 2 weeks, but, NEMCOG, was gonna go to that meeting, but they did not have enough people to show up and be able to perform. So that meeting was not held. Michigan Works, because they're earlier in the day, that one wasn't held also, so basically the 2 that I had to do last week were not available. So that's-
Okay, I don't have anything for mention.
ACCOA has free drug boxes for people that would like to lock their drugs up. Just call them up and make an appointment and they get you a box. They're also, they did a collection of telephones, cell phones, and they have basically a buyer for them that they will get money. So if you donate the use of the cell phone, they can turn it in and get some funds. I offered recycles to put that along with our stuff where we would, if a person had the wishes to drop one off, they could come up and when we do our donation, they could just drop the phone off there and we would process them over to ACCOA for them to move them wherever they need to go. The library, of course, you have the Gary Turner, that's now the new board member. She's also the lady that works at the Conservation Department. Thunder Bay, they're doing pretty good. They've got some issues, but they're moving forward. And the other thing I passed out is the county cleanup overall fund. The first time I did it, we were going to be about $200 short paying the bills, but City of Harrisville finally put their funds in and they picked us up to a benefit of $233 to good. So we paid all our bills. The tire grant from the last 2 years has been submitted to the state. Now we'll get that reimbursement. We used the full 4,000 over 2 years. Actually, we used 2,000 or 4,000 plus because of the tires. But we'll get that back. And that'll go back into the fund. So basically, this year we came out $233 of it. And I do thank all the townships that do participate.
Really?
Well, I want to extend my congratulations to all those that worked on the fair. They had challenges this year, but rose to the occasion and met it. As we reported, personnel did the mid-year reviews on our department heads and just kind of stuff.
Okay, and we are into our final public comment, limit of 5 minutes, please. Identify yourself for the stand.
Judy French, Harrisville Township. I'd like to say I'm extremely disappointed in this board. Twice, we have brought resolutions forth regarding the vaccines. More so than the vaccines, it's the resolutions are in support of bills about the vaccines and passports. I feel, and many feel, y'all want to keep your heads down. You don't want to be noticed. We don't want anybody to see us. Don't make a scene in Alcona County. I want you to take a stand. What do you feel? Do you think that I should take the shot if I don't want to? Do you think that I should show a card to walk in here? This is America. We are fighting for our freedoms. I thank Carolyn for at least trying to do a letter to support some of these House bills that protect some of our freedoms. What are the rest of you doing? We're not done.
Anybody else?
Robert Turk, Harrisville Township. I'm going to apologize. I'm a little hard of hearing. Could you, in your additional comments and concern section after this, explain to me what happened in the communication section on my Grand Traverse County resolution for the vaccine awareness and medical autonomy? I missed that. I'm sorry. I appreciate it in your comment period. Just let me know what happened with that resolution.
I can explain. I'm sorry. I just put down you as a group in your resolutions, so it was to address both of them, and I still have it sitting here, as well as the other group. I just put resolutions because I know you'd both be presenting. The communications is the Grand Traverse. I received that email probably a day or two after you left. So all the resolutions that I received from other counties gets put under communications. That's not your resolution.
Okay, so the resolution that I put forward for vaccine awareness and medical autonomy, could you, in your period, in your time, just tell me what you did with that? I mean, was that voted on? Was that?
I have it still sitting here because it wasn't addressed.
It wasn't addressed, but it was, that wasn't what was under the communication.
No, that was actually Grand Traverse
So will that
resolution.
be put on the next agenda or?
Well, we can wait till public, additional comments here for commissioners. Let's finish out our public comment. Everybody else?
Tamara Quick, Beaton Road, Haynes Township. Two things. I want to correct what I said earlier because I misspoke. I said absentee ballots and I was wrong. It was like, more like applications, so I'm really sorry. And also we have lock boxes. I'm also the coordinator for child abuse and neglect prevention for Oklahoma County. And we have lock boxes to lock up medicines as well. And those are free. Just wanted to let you know. And I'm like super disappointed like that you're not doing Carolyn's letter, or I don't understand. I don't understand. I'm a veteran, served in the United States Air Force for 10 years. And you don't know, if you haven't been in the position when your friends are going to war. I was there when Desert Shield started. We were called into a hangar. Back then we didn't have cell phones, so we couldn't go away on the weekends because we had to be, you know, within a few, like 30 minutes, I think, of the base, so we couldn't go anywhere. On the weekends, they kept tabs on us. So we were called into the hangar and we didn't know what was going on. And we knew it was something serious. It wasn't a war game because we played a lot of war games. I wore a lot of gas masks. Okay. If you don't really look at what's going on in the whole world, they are starting to take our freedoms. And I'm just asking you to stand up. Stand up with me. I think it's my patriotic spirit. It's just, it's really crazy what's going on right now. Thank you for your time.
Please.
Jeffrey Dobbs, Glenny. Regarding the letter for CL 16831A, I'd like to offer to help you draft the letter if that's possible. And I also wanted to thank you again for your time, even though we didn't get the result we wanted. We will keep working to come together on something we can all work with. I think it is important. And what I see, I follow the news closely, and I don't like what I see, and I don't want any of that to happen here to anybody here. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Yes.
Patty Thomas, Harrisville Township. I'm a retired nurse. I was given the opportunity to get back into nursing with COVID, and I elected not to turn 75 years old. I do follow nursing organizations, state of Michigan and national organizations. The number of nurses who have resigned from their positions and the number who have retired early, or, you know, I knew a lot of nurses that looked into their 70s. I just hope that each of you who take the personal freedom to elect not to be vaccinated and not to wear a mask will also take the personal responsibility that if you show up in the emergency room unable to breathe with symptoms of COVID, that you go to the back of the line and say, I chose this. If I die, it's my choice. It's not my choice for you to expose my 3 dear grandchildren who are too young to be vaccinated, but they are out in this community and they will be exposed to the possibility of one of the people who have chosen not to be vaccinated, giving them the virus or some brand new mutation. Viruses are living organisms. Organisms require the ability to mutate so that they can survive. They will survive. The human race may not.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Name's Jessica explanation. Insofar as with the vaccine mandates, I'm obviously heavily opposed to the mandates. America's built on freedom of choice. However, I do want to specify that freedom of choice does not
mean freedom from consequences. Let's see, kind of point out, right? However, if mandates were enacted and I was to receive the vaccine, personally, the last vaccination I had very harmful adverse effects. I am allergic to numerous antibiotics. So I do have obvious medical concerns about vaccines being mandated on me, having had bad experiences in the past, ones that have almost killed me. So I really, really am against any sort of mandate because we don't know each individual person's history. That's between them and their doctors. We don't know if what we're giving them is going to kill them. Their doctor might know. But if we make it mandated to where you must be vaccinated to go to the supermarket, you must be vaccinated to fly, you must be vaccinated to travel, you must be vaccinated to do anything, to even have a remotely free life. What about those who are medically unable to be vaccinated?
A mask would be.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What about
No
those?
response.
What about those who would be medically unable to be vaccinated? I also have a younger brother who is currently trying to get on the transplant list because he does not have functioning kidneys. He's actually now, right now at dialysis. I drove from Blaine to Alpena, down here to Harrisville, and then I'm gonna have to go back to Alpena to get my brother. He has chosen also not to be vaccinated. He wants to make sure, because of all of his numerous health issues, before he takes it, that it is safe for him to do so. However, now we are coming to the point where he may be mandated to take it regardless of any facts of his health issues, simply to be on the waiting list to potentially receive a kidney. So I am very highly against mandated vaccinations because we do not know the individual status of each person whom we are trying to impose this vaccination on. Again, board members, thank you all for your time and your consideration. I know my speech earlier was strong. It was not my words, but I felt it was a good reminder to us all to remember what we do have the chance of heading down that path if we don't stand tall. So thank you all for your time and your consideration. And as Judy said, we're not done. We will be back. Thank you.
Anybody else? Carrie. Go ahead.
There we go. There we go. I got you. Okay. As someone who does have allergies to vaccines and the ingredients in vaccines, someone who has been told by a doctor not to get vaccinated, these mandates would basically preclude me from entering society. If I had to show a vaccine card in order to get on a plane to fly out to Colorado to see my dad who has bone cancer, I wouldn't be able to go. What do they do with these people? And last I looked, and you can probably find a slightly different number yourself, it's like 3.8% of the population that has known allergies or other medical conditions whereupon they are highly recommended not to get the vaccine. 3.8% of the population of the United States is a big number. Okay. Do we get isolated into our own little camp? Do we have our own little stores? Vaccine mandates are wrong. They're just wrong. And I hope that you guys see that. And it scares me. It scares me to think that I'm going to have a little label on my chest that says, keep away from me. Don't let me into this establishment. I wouldn't be able to live, wouldn't be able to function. Every time I hear about these, prime example, a friend of mine is an RN. She is actually against the vaccine. They're firing her. They are firing doctors. Doctors are quitting. Doctors are retiring. Nurses are retiring. There's going to be a staff shortage in regards to healthcare workers. And that is because they do not want to get the vaccine. Now ask yourselves, they are a small portion of nurses and doctors, but even the littlest amount, take them out of the system and you're going to be hard pressed to not be waiting in line when you go to the ER. You keep mandating these vaccines and people, life is never going to get back to normal. Frankly, I hate the new norm as it's termed. It's not normal. And I just hope that you guys really take that into consideration as you look over the resolution and stuff. And I'd also like to thank you for your work with the election, the forensic audit resolution. I think it's a win for us. I really appreciate Carolyn's idea of the letter and support for a forensic audit. And I know I haven't been here as much as I would have liked to have been. 1:30 is kind of a cruddy time for me, but I definitely am glad that I attended this meeting. I thank you for your time. I thank you for your consideration, and I hope to see my fellow Republican commissioners out and about. So thank you, and I guess good day.
Carrie, anybody else? Please.
Again, my name is Margaret Katsira. I live in Haynes Township. First of all, I'd like to say that everyone that has spoken today has the opportunity to exercise their right as a citizen to the United States. And in doing so, we can see how diverse we are as a country. But we cannot forget that the rule of law is what really governs America. It governs all of us, even here in small communities. And there are reasons for those laws. Mandates are not made to eliminate people. Those mandates would include people with issues that have allergies or whatever to any kind of a vaccine. People who make those rules are cognizant of that. They're not here to eliminate the diversity that we have, but to be inclusive. So that's all I have to say about the vaccine mandate. The audit is obviously another proportion of the rule of law and why we need to be diverse and include all people. You know, all of us work for each other, whether we're a citizen, county commissioner, county clerk, we're all here to work together. That's why we live in America. And then my last point would be the property at 331 M72 with the flag flying with obscene words on it. Whatever your politics, whatever your encouragement to support is, we all have to admit that that is not something we want to see in our county. I picked this up, this all band communications. And last night I was able to listen to our economic development group on what we're doing in order to map our community so that we can all have broadband internet coverage, so that we can all stay in communication with each other. I find it amazing that our small county has gone to those extent. They even got a grant, including NEMSCA, to help them to do this, to pay for it, so that we, the citizenry, can have a better communication with each other. That is what Alcona is for 83 for. If we could only start focusing on the positive in our community. There are a lot of things that are happening. And this mapping of our fiber optics and getting able to have school, the students in schools be able to have a better education. I think that is the bedrock from which we stand. Education. If we all can be open-minded to a better education, we'll have less fears about what a mandate might mean to me because I have allergies or any other fear that you might have. But in order to come to our county commissioners today and speak gives me great pride. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, commissioners, additional comments and concerns. Reference to the action for Mr. Mr. Turek's resolution. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was addressed by Carolyn with proposing the letter to lawmakers to express our, what? Tell me all that. What was that resolution? How did that read?
Sorry, that was quite a while ago.
No, not that.
The resolution about the
Karen, the letter we're
about
gonna
the
write.
forensic audit, yeah.
Motion was.
Oh, that's right. We drafted a letter and it was in opposition to the House bills. No, not the House.
No.
Letters.
No, the vaccine awareness one.
It wasn't.
What it was is Tom said there was a specific,
This is different. This was not
This is
addressed.
different. It's not, we don't have a copy of that.
Yeah,
I haven't.
it was the forensic audit. That's what I thought.
There were two that.
Yes, he's talking about the resolution for vaccination that was adopted by grand.
Is that the one you're asking about? I'm sorry, I apologize. That's it.
I can't hear you here. It was a resolution for vaccine awareness and mask and medical autonomy that was passed by Grand Traverse County.
It was reworded to reflect that.
Reworded to.
Oh, yeah,
affect
and
now one
no
paragraph
commissioner,
reflect August not being there.
no commissioner brought it forward for discussion. That's the status on that. Any other commissioner comments?
Very involved and thank you.
I applaud that too, and I have a comment. I wouldn't ever support, well, first of all, since I started here, I don't know, 2 terms ago or whatever it was, I've never felt comfortable with resolutions that were symbolic to say, hey, Governor, so-and-so, I don't like what you're doing. Well, as a county commissioner, my main job has been trying to keep Alcona County upright. We don't have the luxury of, say, a county administrator to handle all, most other counties, when a commissioner shows up, they get this big list of stuff to vote on and all the stuff about it. Well, guess what? When I come in here, I have to make up the list of stuff to vote on. Well, we have to figure out, why is this a problem in the budget? And why is this a problem in the budget? We don't get presented, here's the problems and here's the solution. We get just presented with problems. So I commit 99% of my time that I spend here is putting out fires, right? So if you couldn't come to me with resolutions, number one is this. Emails I receive after maybe I didn't respond to you within 2 days or something, it immediately becomes aggressive and immediately becomes threatening. That doesn't work for me. That makes me want to ignore you more. Ignore is a bad word, but it is. That's what it is. It makes me not want to address the issue if you're going to come after me with negative, just threats. Number 2 is I wouldn't support anything against these bills either. If somebody came in and said, hey, we want to, Alcona County Commissioners need to say we're against all these resolutions for the vaccines, I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. And here's why. We're a nation divided. You can agree with that. I know you can, because that's why you're here. But if we use terms like my body, my choice, and if one extreme side or mid-extreme starts using the other side's terms against them, it doesn't become a conversation anymore. It's a battle. Let's be a conversation. Why can't we be a conversation? I may be out of touch, maybe whatever, and the voters might decide that's not what they want here, but that's how I stand. If you want to know, that's it. I'm not convinced either way, and if somebody can come to me with a rational talk, I admire you, sir, coming in here with, you know, you're coming in, you didn't really probably even really want to do this at first. I thought that's how I got into government. My neighbor said, hey, you want to be on the township board? Not really. We need some. Oh, all right. That's how it starts, and I respect what you did, but so you know how I feel. That's it.
Can we sit down?
Absolutely, we can sit down, and I welcome that anytime. If you want to, my phone number's on the website. I've never not picked up a call, but if you want to send me friendly emails, I will not respond. I'll tell you right
I
now.
don't work like that.
Well, I know, but there's people that do,
Oh, I know.
and that's
no good.
That's not how it's gonna go. So that's my comments. That's my concerns. Anybody else? Hearing none, let's adjourn this meeting. Thank you for coming, everybody. I appreciate your passion.